Yes.
All right. So welcome everyone that's tuning in. I'm Gabe. We got Kim Lowe and Diane Musho Hamilton. We are the co-authors of Compassionate Conversations, How to Listen and Speak from the Heart. And that came out on Kindle this Tuesday, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
And we've been doing these Facebook Lives pretty routinely, Kim and I, and we were able to snag Di in her time to do a Facebook Live on the week of the kickoff of the Kindle version, at least. And we wanted to basically focus more on a practice this week, and that would be how to receive feedback. And so I'm actually going to pass it over to Diane just so that you get just a little taste and experience of her to frame and kick us off.
Okay. So within the context of compassionate conversations, we're thinking about all the different skill sets that we use in our communications that can support us in having more free, authentic, and heartfelt conversations, particularly around topics that are difficult. And so one issue that came up is the issue of how we give and receive feedback. And in this case, we're mainly focusing on the receiving of feedback. And obviously, the way we do things is always depends on our purpose, our intention. What is it we want from the communication? It also depends on the context. Are we at work? Are we at home? What are the nature of the relationships? What is our respective roles? Do we have power in the situation? Do we not? Are we? Is there something that we're specifically wanting as an outcome, perhaps? So those things all determine choices that we make. But one thing that I think I've been aware of is that even though I teach and have practiced listening skills for a very long time, that one of the most difficult times that I have to actually use those skills is when someone is giving me feedback about me. And if it's positive, well, even then I can be somewhat shy, but I noticed that in the years that I spent learning about feedback and how to give it, how to receive it, when was it useful, when was it better to just hold it, that there's a kind of one-dimensionality to it when we're first learning, where there's a lot of kind of a norm where we start giving a lot of feedback and we start receiving a lot of feedback. And I started realizing that just being kind of open to any feedback that comes your way is maybe not so skillful. So what we're going to try to do now is show you 5 different ways that you can respond to feedback, from the first one, no, not available to your feedback, all the way to your feedback is really valuable and I am hoping that I can actually use it, particularly if it's negative or constructive feedback. I hope I can use it to make a change. So we want to model 5 things. The first one is not available or no. The second one is kind of a respectful listening, but not necessarily taking it in. Notice how long it's taking us to get there. The third one is to actually listen, receive, and consider the feedback without necessarily agreeing. The fourth one is to just flat out agree, but not indicate that you're going to work with it or try to make a change. And then the fifth one is to receive it, to listen to it, and to actually give a communication that indicates that you're going to respond to that feedback. Okay, so 5 different ways. And are we going to role play it, you guys?
Let's do it.
All right, so number 1 is basically not available or no. Okay, all right, so I'm the one receiving, right? Okay, good.
Hey, Diane, so I was wondering, could I give you some feedback?
Gabe, not right now. I'm like full on right now. I just don't have the bandwidth.
Okay, I'll try again later. Okay,
sounds good. Now, obviously, if we have an ongoing relationship, he is going to circle back. But if I'm in the middle of a work and I haven't met someone, or they just pop up out of nowhere and want to offer something, I may just not be available for all kinds of reasons. I'm busy. I don't know the person. I just plain don't have the ability to listen in that moment because I just got a bunch of feedback. So those could all be good reasons to say no. Cool. How was that for you, Gabe? Did you feel rejected?
You know, I'm working with myself. There's a little rejection here. It's just a role play, but it feels real.
Great.
All right, you're going to the second option 2.
Option 2. So this time I'm going to listen, but I'm not necessarily going to spend too much time on it. I'm just going to take it in.
Okay. Hey, Dan, could I give you some feedback?
Yeah, Kim, sure. Go ahead.
I think that your community would love to see you online more. I wondered if you'd be willing to just sort of show up and do things like this more often.
That is a great question. So what I hear you say is that you think my community would really like it if I were online more. Do you want to tell me more about why you think that? Be interested.
I think it's the way that you speak and the way that you describe and sort of comment on life and what you observe. I think it's really helpful for people, like in real time.
Well, I really appreciate that. Probably not going to, but really appreciate it. Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. Thanks for hearing me.
All right, what's the third one?
Third one is I actually am going to consider it.
Okay.
I could have probably done a better job with that, because I appreciate it, and it's something that I thought about a lot, and I just seem to be limited in that way. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, my turn.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, can I give you some feedback?
Yeah, please.
I've been noticing that you occasionally, more often than not, I'd say, feed your dog a Big Mac once in a while. I've just noticed he's getting a little heavy. A quarter pounder? Yeah. Well, just to say, I'm wondering if we should reconsider that, because I noticed he's getting a little heavy on the joints, maybe.
So I feel just a little bit triggered. I notice my defenses are coming up right now, because giving my dog a treat periodically is a great source of pleasure, but there's probably something in what you're saying that's true. So I'll definitely think about it. And thanks for saying it, because I know you care about my dog.
Totally. Love
Do you really think he's fat?
Yeah, his hips don't lie, and especially now.
Going to definitely take that under consideration. Next one. Just flat out agree, but you're not going to do anything about it. Okay, Kim.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, I was just sort of thinking about something just now. Can I share that with you?
I'm scared, but yeah, go ahead.
It's about the plant that's in the background of sometimes you have a flower, sometimes you have Dogen back there. Today's plant, I don't know, it's something about the shape. I wonder if you thought about it at all.
Is what you're saying is that you just find it not very appealing? Is that what you're telling me?
I think it's something to do with the shape with the picture. Maybe if it was like kind of a different setting arrangement or something like that, it might work.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I totally agree. Yep, you're right. Thanks.
You're welcome. So it was a great agreement.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, it kind of is interfering with the picture. I agree. Okay. I wonder, can the audience tell the difference? These 5 things, you should be able to. I'll review them.
Totally.
Okay.
All right, last one.
Yes.
So this one you'll consider and willing to make a change.
100%.
Okay. All right, so Diane, can I give you a piece of feedback?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Gabe. What's up? What's up, Gabe?
So, number one, given your role as a teacher, a Zen teacher in particular, part of your responsibility is to work with people's minds, like their psyches, their personalities. And you're very generous, and I notice that you work with a lot of people. And my perception is that that's a tax on your energy. And so I guess my piece of feedback is to maybe be more protective of your energy and really invest your time deeply on a certain number of people instead of exposing yourself to a broader range of people.
Anyone in particular?
Hey, you know.
No, I'm just kidding. So what I hear you saying is that, and thank you for sharing with me. So as a teacher who is, I wouldn't say that it's so much people's psyches as it is working with awareness itself, perhaps, but that it's a lot to engage people.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you notice that it's taxing me or stressing me, and you're wondering if maybe it would be good for me either to limit or be a little more discerning about how many people I actually work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I can hear that. I actually think I agree with you. I think particularly at this life stage, you know, as I'm getting a little bit older, that I probably do need to narrow my focus and maybe move to more depth instead of so much breadth. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll definitely see what I can do about that. Just feel free, you know, if you see me making a choice that you think maybe there's a different one, I'd be open to hearing that for sure.
Cool. I can keep you to it. Sounds good.
Okay, cool.
End scene and role play.
And scene. So, Kim, what did we do?
You say, what do we do, or what did we do?
What did we do?
Okay, so we went through 5 different ways of receiving feedback, because fundamentally we always have a choice. So we started with just a flat out no, not available for this right now, no thank you. Then we got the respectful listening and even some good reflection there, but fundamentally it's a no, I'm not going to take that in, not at this time. And then the third one was listening and considering, but not necessarily agreeing, but at least being open to thinking about it, and, you know, so being open for that much. The fourth one was just a straight agreement. You're right. This plan is weird. And,
and I made a terrible aesthetic choice to put it there.
Yeah, it's like great. Great, actually, full agreement on there. And then the fifth one is receiving it, taking it in, and then expressing a willingness to change as a result of that new information.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed that someone put into the our chat box, hi, Julia, a distinction between 3 and 4 wasn't so clear. So,
okay, yeah, so let's do it again. You guys give me 3 and 4. Oh, 3 and 4, listen and consider, and 4, agree but do nothing.
But don't do anything about it.
Yeah. So do we want to try that again? Maybe say something about my leadership style.
Okay.
Are you modeling 3 or 4?
I'll model 3 first. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. Hey, Diane, can I just share something with you that I'm, you know, some feedback on how you lead?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love that.
So I've seen you in groups a few times now, and I think I love the way you can pick up both the feminine and the masculine, and I think that you're really skillful at both. I wonder if sometimes the balance could be tipped a little bit more to the feminine, and I wonder if you would be up for just bringing more of that directionality that you talk about so well.
Well, let me just make sure that I understand. So you're saying that in terms of the sort of more directional, forward-leaning, moving groups along versus more receptivity and allowing things to kind of happen on their own, that you'd rather see a little bit more of the receptivity? Is that what I'm hearing?
More of the directionality.
Oh, more of the directionality. Okay. Okay, sure. I mean, I'm willing to think about that for sure. Yeah, I don't know, but right now I'm definitely open.
Cool.
Okay, good. All right, let's try the number 4 where you agree, but you don't make any, you're not inclined to change. Oh, 4. Thanks.
Di, can I give you some feedback?
This is like the 9th piece of feedback I've gotten today, but I think I have a couple minutes. Go ahead.
You know, I just feel that you come in pretty assertively into most conflicts. And, you know, I could say that you kind of come in at a 10. And, you know, maybe you can come in at like a 4.
Well, I think you're right. I think I do come in at a 10. It's true. I come in at a 10. I come in strong. And yeah, I think I probably am just going to keep coming in at a 10. But you're right. Your perception is accurate. But I do it for a reason.
Absolutely. Received.
Okay. That should be clear, right? 3 and 4?
Yeah.
So Julia said
Okay.
that she's clear now. She got it.
Okay, good.
Cool. I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment in the chat, but for those of you that do watch this video later and have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. One of the 3 of us will respond, if not multiple of us. And so feel free to have that back and forth with us. We'd love to do that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing for me in doing this, and I hope you can make these distinctions, is that we don't automatically have to receive feedback. We can listen and choose not to respond to it. We can consider it and listen and think about it quite a bit. We can literally agree with it and decide that it's not something we care to change or we don't need to. And then finally, we can actually take it in, think it over, assess it, and then start to make changes. And I think sometimes there's an assumption when we give someone feedback that they're going to change. And I think that we really need to be conscious both in giving and receiving feedback that that's an implicit assumption that isn't necessarily the case. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. And actually, there's a question in here which I kind of want to speak to when it relates to what you're saying just now, Diane. So the question is, what if the person giving feedback is more into manipulating? And so I think what comes up for me when I see that question is what Diane was saying, is that we have the choice. And if we can understand, you know, maybe the context in which this is happening, there might be some people who we are more open to receiving feedback from and some who we're just not, because maybe we can detect those underlying intentions which aren't aligned with how we want to grow and develop. We don't want to be called off who has other intentions for it.
Yeah.
And so,
Kim, I think that's an important point, is that we don't have to receive feedback from anyone. Like, we should pick and choose who we receive feedback from.
yeah.
Definitely.
So Hoda, I think that, you know, I think if you detect that that's happening, that the person who's giving you feedback is actually has some ulterior motive, which doesn't feel right, then, you know, if you want to handle it respectfully, you can say, you know, I hear you, and maybe even thank them for bringing it to your attention, but you can know clearly for yourself that this has no impact on who you will be going forward. And that's a judgment call that you make for yourself. Just something that I wanted to say was, at the beginning of showing up online, I had a great fear of feedback. I thought that I was going to get all kinds of criticisms and ridicule, you know, whatever my worst nightmares were from actually, you know, sort of showing up online. And then I came across something that Brene Brown shared, which was to take a piece of paper, maybe this is going too far, but get a piece of paper like literally this big and write the names on it of people whose opinions and lives you really respect and admire. Write their names on the piece of paper, and these are the people whom you will receive your feedback from. And maybe it doesn't need to be this small, but the point being is, like, you don't need to receive feedback from the other, you know, 7 billion people around the world, but it is important to have names on that piece of paper, because we all need guidance sometimes. We all need people to show us things that we can't.
And make sure your boss's name is on there. Just make sure your boss's name is on there.
So yeah. Anyway, thanks for the question, Hoda. Hope that was.
We have one more question, and I got a +1 from Trace. So the question's from Zach, and he's asking, at what point do you give feedback to someone before they had asked for it?
I can think of a couple situations. I can think of the question that's implicit also with feedback is that often people are having impacts on us and they may not be aware of it. So in a personal relationship, with a spouse or with a partner or someone that you're really close to, I can imagine easily initiating it, saying something along the lines of, you know, I want to share something with you that because I notice I'm impacted by it, and I just wonder if I raise it, how you'll feel about it. I can imagine that easily. If you're working on a team, let's say in a work situation, and you're delivering some sort of a project together, I would imagine that feedback should be kind of built into that, because everybody's ability to execute is based on everybody else's performance. So giving and receiving feedback should be a part of any kind of team engagement that we do. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. It makes me think of, I'm not sure what chapter number it is exactly in Compassionate Conversation. We talk about agreements that you're going to have. And this definitely happens if your team is a healthy, well-functioning team in an organization. You'll have your agreements of how to conduct yourselves, and how to give feedback should be a part of that. Trace is saying he likes the SBI model. So in terms of how to give feedback, SBI, situation, behavior, impact. So just present the situation it occurred in, presents the specific behavior. That particular part is key in the sense that you're pointing to something that both parties most likely couldn't remember or see. So it's a very concrete behavior. And then the impact, you're just owning the impact, as Diane modeled. I had this experience. So you're not saying, you're not framing it as a truism, like you're consistently ruffling people's feathers, because you can't really account whether that's true or not, like everyone's feathers. What does that even mean? But you can definitely speak to with confidence, like you're ruffling my feathers when you do that, right? So owning it in that way is very important. So Trace, that's awesome. Well done.
Thanks, Trace.
So a question here from Michael. How do we prepare for feedback? And maybe just to kick us off, I'm actually going to reference a different book by here, Diane.
Okay, go ahead, Kim.
Yes, it's really important how Diane orients us to the importance of, being aware of the feelings and the sensations that could be arising, and allowing for a little pause. Because in some circumstances, if the threat is being, the difference is being experienced as a threat, we're going to limit our ability to actually take in that feedback and interact with it in a more spacious way. So, so preparing for feedback could be taking a few really deep mindful breaths, reminding yourself of the underlying relationship. Hopefully you can intuit the reason why they're giving you their feedback, which is maybe they want smoother working relations, or maybe they want to help you in some way. Any other thoughts that you want to say, Diane or Gabe?
I would say that just to kind of be in awe of the defensive system, the fight or flight, and the way in which, we can be threatened by something that's actually dangerous to us, but that it's also really threatening whenever the kind of status quo of our self-image is challenged, that actually feels often threatening, or we feel vulnerable, or like we've been attacked. And it depends a lot, of course, on how deeply we know the people, what kind of the norms of our relationship is. It must be a lot harder to take, feedback from your mother, for instance, than it is from a best friend, who knows. But just that the more we do it, the less we need to prepare. Because what you start to discover over time is that feedback often is really less about the person receiving it and their need to change than it is an opportunity to start opening up a conversation about how we see and how we are impacting each other. And so the more we practice, the less threatening it becomes, and the more it becomes a departure point for a deeper conversation about our differences, which is really what Compassionate Conversations is about, is how do we talk about our differences? So we can see feedback in a way as a door opening, as opposed to some kind of judgment on your character or your performance. What about you, Gabe?
I'm just blessed to have written a book with you both. I have nothing to add.
Okay.
There is one more question, though. Maybe we can end on this one. And Diane, you'll be teed up to respond to this one as it pertains to having kids and teenagers in particular. So how about feedback to teenagers about their choices that are having an impact, and they aren't open to receive it? Can you share more about relating to teenagers?
Well, I think that they're not open to receive it is important, and I would probably notice that. Like I notice I'm wanting an exchange because as your mother or as your parent, in a certain way, I'm still in the role of coaching you and supporting you in the world. So is there anything I could do that would make it easier for you to receive it? Is there a way that if I changed my tone or the context, is there something I could do that would make it easier for you? And then the other thing I would ask is, their feedback that you want to give to me. Like, let's actually open up the communication. Like, how can I be a better parent to you? And what can I do so that I'm able to coach you through these last few years of your being at home? Because that's my job and I'm going to do it. It matters to me. So I can do it. I'd just like to find a way for us to do it so there's more ease.
Nice. Very cool. Well, everyone, thank you for your comments. It's a very active chat. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for the likes and word ups on your respective posts. And I'll do this after the fact, but I'll include the link to our book and also a link to a place to buy the book. And I'll give you a coupon. It's a 30% discount on the book. So for those of you that are watching this and have made it this far, or check out the chat, you'll see it there. So with that, I just want to say thank you. And Kim and Di, always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Tracy.
Thank you so much.
Today.
Bye, everybody.
Meeting us.